On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about an album that I've been very fond of for a very long time. Mm-hmm. It's Departure Songs by We Lost the Sea, not to be confused with Departure Songs by Hammock, which is a different post-rock band. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. We like to talk about it. And today we're talking about something I've been listening to at least once a week for the last year, it seems like.
And I've only listened to it twice now, and I already have all the lyrics memorized.
I mean, it's slightly easier with this one than with Triumph and Disaster to memorize the lyrics.
Slightly easier?
Yeah. Well, because, there actually are lyrics on Triumph and Disaster.
Well, I suppose there are. There's some.
The last song is sung.
Mm-hmm. He's getting his spray bottle because the cat has wandered in.
Go away.
She's like, oh, no, she's having none of that.
Yep.
That's a wise investment right there, my friend.
Oh, I've had this. I just didn't think to bring it in here. This way we can keep the door open. Sure. She's not trying to beat it down, but she will stay the fuck out of our shit.
Right. And it's not going to, we're not going to be in an oven.
Yeah.
Gonna have to come in here and turn us over and butter the other side.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Speaking of the cat, I got her a Furminator,
right?
One of those nice undercoat brushes, and it works incredibly well. She just does not care for it at all. Although I think by the time, because she'll tolerate it for probably about 5 minutes. By the time she is completely done, I am done getting brushed by this. I don't want to do this anymore. I have already gotten probably 3 to 4 times the amount of hair off of her than with the other brush. So I guess it still works out.
And she runs away from you after about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and she won't be back.
Yeah, she refuses to cooperate. What did that have to do with Terminator at all?
It's a Furminator.
Oh, God. I'm so fucking dumb. Why am I so stupid? But yeah, she runs away and she refuses to cooperate, but it's fine because I've already gotten quite a bit of hair off of her.
Sure.
The brush surface is kind of annoyingly small. So the amount that actually collects on the teeth it's more of a comb, to be honest. The amount that actually collects on the teeth is quite small. You have to kind of run your hand along with it to collect the rest of the hair. My parents have a brush like that for one of their dogs. And that is really best used outside.
Sure.
Since it does not really collect hair all that well on its own.
It just pulls it off.
Yeah, it's easier to do that outside and just let the hair float off into the breeze.
Well, where are you putting your pussy hair?
It's just in the garbage.
Oh, okay.
Just putting it in the garbage. Yep, I'm not doing anything with that.
You're not doing anything?
No, I'm going to leave that bit there.
Okay.
I'm going to let it lie. I'm going to leave that sleeping pussy lie. But yeah, she I think is noticeably less floofy.
Yeah, she is less floofy. I can see that.
So yeah, I think there was definitely quite a bit of built up fuzz sort of puffing her out, because it's getting hard to I don't have a good handle on how much she weighs. I don't have a scale,
right?
So I don't really know how much she weighs and if she's getting fat or not because she's so fluffy.
Sure, she is a fluff ball.
She is genuinely a fluff ball.
And you say she's a blanket cat? Is that what that is?
A ragdoll
cat.
At least part ragdoll anyway. She's got all the. Almost all of the physical attributes. She's got, sort of the off-white coat with bits of, cream and then fade into some brown and then the gray and white face and blue eyes. So that tends to be very much their physical attributes. She's just a little bit smaller than ragdolls tend to be a bigger cat.
Like a 20-pound cat?
I don't think that big. No. Not quite on the level of like a Maine Coon or like a Norwegian forest cat or something, but a bit smaller than that. But
more like 10 or 15 pounds.
Yeah, on the large size of normal, the large side of average size for a cat, I'd say. She's just sitting over there quietly, patiently. Just gonna keep this
right there.
Keep this spray bottle firmly within reach. But how are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. I told you I got the motorcycle rolling, right?
Yes, you did. That you nearly exhausted yourself.
That's right. That was the issue from last week. I really haven't got to ride too much.
Really?
Well, yeah, it's kind of been shitty out. I mean, over the weekend it was in the 40s, and that's kind of the low end of comfort right there.
That's not great. And it's going to be shitty again this weekend.
I know. It's going to be colder this weekend and rainy on Saturday.
Yeah. So it I don't know why. It seems like that's what's been going on for like a month now. Is it's really, really nice during the week. And then during the weekend, it's fucking awful. I wish it would stop doing that.
Sure.
But, I called the cops for the very first time.
Yeah.
I've never had to call the police department for anything. It wasn't an emergency.
You didn't dial 911.
No, I did not. I called the police department. It was 1:30 in the morning, and some assholes that live,
who are out there right now.
Yeah, who are out there right now being loud. They had their garage door wide open, and their burnt orange Dodge Charger sitting out in front in the middle of the parking lot, not parked in the garage, which they sometimes do in the middle of the fucking day, which bugs the shit out of me.
They're doing that now.
It blocks off half the parking lot.
Right.
But no, they were just being like really loud at 1:30 in the morning, yelling at each other, blasting music, and they were yelling at each other because they were blasting music and they were drunk.
And had it been good music, there might have been less of a chance you called the police.
Yeah, but it was fucking Volbeat, which I despise. I despise that band. And so I just called the police department and was like, yeah, I got a noise complaint. There's some guys out in their garage on the premises of the building and being real loud. And part of the thing for me too is like, if it is, say I have a neighbor who I know and they're being really loud, I can go over and talk to them and be like, hey, you're being really loud. Can you stop that? And that's fine. I am a very non-confrontational person. So I wasn't going to be the one to go out there and tell these drunk, probably genuine assholes what to do, because I'm also not an intimidating looking person. So it's like, I don't think they would have listened to me anyway. They would have told me to fuck off. So I was just like, I'm just going to call the police department. And part of the big thing for me, as well, was the fact that since they were out in their garage blasting it, that sound was hitting that entire side of the building equally.
Sure, it's aimed this direction.
It basically has an amplifier. Right. It has a huge square shaped sound box for it.
The garage
just lost stereo.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I stepped on something.
Yeah, aimed squarely at this side of the building. So I knew I was probably not the only person being kept awake. I was just the first person willing to fucking do something about it. And cops showed up and I was kind of watching because I was curious to see how they would react. And I think the cop sat in his car for a while, just like observing them, and then walked out and stood in front of the open garage door for about 5 seconds. And probably like the pose said the classic, "How we doing tonight, gentlemen?" And then they said something, and I don't know if the cop said anything back to them, and he just walked back to his car, and probably about 20 minutes later, they had everything packed up. They had like one last hurrah of being loud dicks, and then went to bed. It's like that bothers the shit out of me because there are people in this, and the other thing is
families living here.
Yeah, that's the thing. If this was in my first apartment building, right across from the college,
sure, like a dorm almost situation,
I wouldn't have been quite so bothered because it's like, yeah, this is mostly college people. Whatever, they're gonna do their thing. Like there were hockey players that lived in my building that would throw days-long ragers. I think that building was also, though, quite a bit better at absorbing sound than this one is. But like they would throw days-long ragers, and like I would tolerate it because it's hockey players, you know, let them celebrate because they go to nationals every fucking year. It's like, yeah, let them celebrate, let them do their thing. Like, you know, I stayed up till 3 a.m. playing D&D one time. We were, you know, being loud and drinking and whatnot. So it's like, I'm not one to judge, but like, God, now it's, yeah, there are actual fucking adults here who need to sleep, even if it is 1:30 on a Sunday morning and they don't like, I didn't have anything to do, but I was annoyed and I wanted to sleep.
Right.
And they were disturbing the peace, which is illegal, or at least goes against the sound ordinance and can be
after 10
a fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like for a second, I felt like such a narc, but I'm just like, fuck these guys. They're probably assholes anyway.
Like you said, they were listening to Volbeat.
Yeah, there is a specific kind of person that listens to and likes Volbeat. At least in my opinion, the way I see it, if you are a big fan of Volbeat, if you casually like them, probably not. But if you're a big fan of Volbeat, you probably wear exclusively Affliction t-shirts or tap out stuff. You have a tap out sticker in the back of your truck.
Right. And
you are the kind of person that drinks and purposefully looks to get into fights at bars.
Right. Like my old neighbor. Not my neighbor, like? Roommate. My old roommate.
Your old roommate.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the skinhead?
Well, he wasn't a skinhead. He was an ex-Marine.
Oh.
Alcoholic. Liked to challenge people to fights with a baseball bat and a bottle of whiskey.
I mean, that's not fair, though.
No, I know.
Do you want to get into a fight? I have a baseball bat, though. Would he offer them a baseball bat?
No. No.
That's no fair. Come on. Where's your honor? Did the Marine Corps not instill any honor into him?
Apparently not. Hey, he's a good guy.
Apparently.
I mean, there's good in him.
There's good in everybody.
Sure. Well, yeah.
I think there is.
Okay.
It's just really hard and maybe impossible to see for some people, and will never come out for some people. That doesn't mean there is not the potential for good. It's just going to take a goddamn saint to bring it out in someone.
Or a near-death experience of some sort.
Yeah. Or, yeah, some big life-changing event has to happen. But, God, I'm really hoping they don't do it again this weekend, because I don't want this to be a weekly thing.
Right.
I don't want my name. Not that there's anything wrong, you know, on my part, legally speaking, but I don't want my name to be on the registry at the police department of this guy's a fucking narc. I don't want the cops to think I'm a narc.
That's not a thing.
I know it's not a thing. I know it's not a thing. I want the police to think I'm cool, dude.
They do think you're cool. You call and defend your apartment building.
I suppose. But it'd be an awkward thing for me, like getting to know the dispatcher. Just be like, hey, it's me again. They're doing it.
Okay, narc, whatever. We'll send a cop over.
Okay, fucking nerd. Just put on some headphones.
It's Saturday night. Fucking live a little.
God. And I had been living a little. I was playing Minecraft with my buddies over the internet because I am a giant fucking nerd.
Wow.
And I had never beat the game before. I had never.
It's beatable. You can beat Minecraft
theoretically, if you consider the end of the game when the credits roll.
Yeah.
That is when you kill the Ender Dragon.
Oh.
And the credits roll. And there's also stuff that you can do after that and can only do after you kill the dragon. So it's not really the end of the game. But that is the traditional like end point.
When you kill the Ender Dragon.
Yeah. In the end. I think Mojang was trying to send a message with their naming on that.
Well, there's Endermen as well.
Yes, because they're from the end.
Right.
But in any case, I had never done that before. And so we just we hung out and we're ridiculously prepared, like way too prepared for it. And the fight was really easy. Although one of my friends did die within the first 30 seconds of the fight because he didn't realize that it breathes like poison gas, or it sends like poison balls at you and then it lingers in the area. So he was just standing in the poison and died immediately. And then by the time he got back into the fight, we had it like almost dead.
He had it on the ropes.
Yeah. So it was fun. We've been playing on that Minecraft server for a really long time. So, or at least on my friend's server, the three of us. So it was fun to do.
We got the Apex Legends at our house.
I overheard something about that. How's that going?
Interesting. Okay, he talked me into getting Apex Legends. Well, he talked me into doing the PlayStation Plus sort of preview 14-day for free kind of thing. And so
for
he
online
could get,
games.
Right, so he could get Apex Legends and play. I'm like, okay, we'll do that, and we'll see if it's worth it, if you're not sick of the game by the end of it. And now he's saying, no, I really want to play Fortnite. Yeah, I really don't.
I mean, Fortnite really sort of is what it is the battle. What do they call that? Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Wow, I sound old. What do they call these games? Battle Royale games. But it is the one of that group that appeals more to his age group.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want him to play in general population. I don't want him just going on and just playing against regular people.
Yeah.
Because it's so toxic. It's extremely toxic. He's going to be 9 years old shortly.
I think you can go into the settings and like turn off receiving voice chat. I'm not even sure if like general voice chat is available for it. Like I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Okay. Because that is, that is like a different thing. Because a lot of people on PC, if they want to talk, they will do that in like a separate Discord server and only talk to the people they actually want to talk to.
Sure.
But yeah, that sort of space is, as I understand, pretty toxic. And like stuff like Apex Legends and like PUBG
sure
generally appeals to a little bit older because they're mildly more realistic. Apex Legends is designed to be it's literally cartoony Titanfall. It's cartoony Titanfall without the Titans.
Right. And the graphics are great.
Because it is actually, I think, set in the same universe as Titanfall.
Really? Oh, yeah, it is. Max was saying that.
I just don't know exactly how that works. But
apparently it was going to be a Titanfall game.
Yeah.
And then they said no.
EA was basically like, make a battle royale game.
Copy Fortnite.
And they're like, okay, but we're going to make it the way we make it. So there's going to be wall running and all that sort of stuff. Because that's what Respawn does.
Right.
Is they put wall running in all their games, which I guess is fine. I still haven't played Jedi Fallen Order.
Really?
I'd probably enjoy that. I need more. Like I talked last month when I got Doom Eternal about like I want to play more challenging games. I feel like maybe I'd like Dark Souls and the
Have you finished The Witcher 4?
You mean 3?
3?
I've not.
No, yeah.
Witcher 3 is there is a steep learning curve at the beginning of Witcher 3, but once you kind of know like, oh, just sort of spam light attacks and occasionally drink a potion, it gets a significantly easier on some capacities as long as you're reasonably leveled for what you're fighting.
Okay.
I have not finished that though, so maybe I should really attempt that because I started and got like 3 hours into a PC playthrough. So I should commit myself to that, but I'm also thinking like, oh, I've never played any of the Dark Souls games.
Wow.
And I have a PlayStation 4. I could play Bloodborne. Like I've never played any of those games. I've never and what I was getting at was Jedi Fallen Order is like in that category of like,
sure,
this is a challenge. It's literally Star Wars Dark Souls. Like it's basically a ripoff of Dark Souls, but Star Wars. So I maybe should give some of those a shot, and maybe I should go back and finish The Witcher 3, especially before Cyberpunk 2077 comes out later this year, made by the same company. I saw apparently their review came back from the ESRB board, and it is extensive. Let me see. It was posted in a chat that I'm in a little bit ago. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So according to the ESRB, here's all the things that they found objectionable. Weapons violence. And it is in ascending order of age brackets, basically. So it's getting older and older, the things that are acceptable. Weapons without violence, acceptable for everyone. Moderate or hinted use of illicit drugs, which is still listed as everyone.
Really?
Weapon with violence, 10 plus. Criminal action without violence, 10 plus. Description of consumption of illicit drugs, 10 plus. Derogatory language, 10 plus. Verbal aggression, 12 plus. Violent acts. This is a long list of 12 plus, so I'm going to stop saying that.
Okay.
Violent acts. Sexual pleasurement.
Really? That's for 12-year-olds.
I didn't think that was a word.
Pleasurement?
Consumption of illicit... It doesn't say, it says licit drugs.
Licit, not illicit.
Licit.
Licit drugs.
I'm wondering if this is genuine
Tylenol.
Because this is, the verbiage here is weird, but like you would say legal, you wouldn't say licit usually. Violence description, exposure to danger, exposure to death corpse.
Death corpse?
I think this might have been translated from Polish.
Possibly.
Because CD Projekt Red is a Polish company. Bodily injury, foul language, sexual language, blood. Description of illicit consumption of drugs or drug trafficking. Sexualization. Oh, now we're in 14 plus. Sorry, that started with the last one. Sexualization. Description of illicit drug consumption or trafficking. Again, sexualization. Sexual exploitation, intentional death, nudity, prostitution, sexual relationships, consumption of illicit drugs is 16 plus, mutilation 16 plus, intense sexual relations 16, suicide 16.
Really?
And the only one that's listed as 18 plus is cruelty. I don't know what that means. And like I hadn't read it in a super detailed sort of
cruelty
way, but it seems like maybe I don't know if that's the genuine list, but I mean, it's a lot of those things are present in any like M-rated game.
Sure.
Like, especially like a Grand Theft Auto or something. I did hear that apparently you can like customize your character's genitals.
Really?
I don't know why you would need to. Like, I know there's probably going to be sex scenes in the game, but it's also first person only. So I don't know how any of that's going to work. They're basically making like Cyberpunk 2077 seems to me like they're doubling down on some of the things they've just slightly shied away from in The Witcher, which is like, I think the sort of people that got into the Witcher video game, particularly got on board in The Witcher 3 in 2015 during the heyday of Game of Thrones.
Sure.
Everyone was going, why don't you let us see Geralt's dick? Just let us see that hog. Come on. Like if HBO can do it, why can't this video game do it?
Sure.
But for some reason, that's like a hard line with the ESRB is like for some games anyway, like games like Rust seem to get away with it. But I think that's because Rust is actually not out. Rust is still theoretically in pre-release and has been for a decade.
Wow.
But the ESRB seems to draw a very hard line on like any sort of genital exposure, and they're like, no, this is adults only. This is AO 18 plus only, instead of rated M, which is actually 17 and up.
Right.
So I don't know how like all that's going to go. I'm really, really pumped for Cyberpunk. That's the next big game for me now that Doom Eternal has come and is continuing to stay. Because boy. Oh, speaking of Doom Eternal, this section of the podcast is sort of dragging on, but this is having to do with something we have talked about, which is the Doom soundtrack.
Yeah.
Id finally put out a statement.
Did they?
And apparently the way that I read it, and if everything went down the way that I think it was Marty, I can't remember his last name. He's I think he's like the creative director at id Software.
Is it McFly?
No, it's not McFly.
Stewart?
No.
Oh.
If everything went down the way that was described, it's kind of Mick's fault. all of the drama that has happened over Doom Eternal's soundtrack, basically, like, on one hand, they sort of sprung Bethesda and id sort of sprung something new on him mid development of the game, which was at E3 last year. They announced that people who pre-ordered the limited edition version, collector's edition version of the game would get the soundtrack on release. That was not in Mick's established contract.
Oh,
but they were like, would you be willing to do this? And Mick said, yes, he would. And I didn't read it super detailed.
Well, this was last year.
This was last year. Mick said he would and entered into like a new contract saying he would deliver it. And as things wound on and the game got closer and closer to being released, Mick was not turning in his tracks and was not keeping up with his contractual deadline. And some of the tracks that he did turn in, like he was only required to deliver 12 completed tracks.
Okay.
And anything,
the soundtrack.
Yeah. Anything else that he delivered after that would be basically added bonus. He would get paid extra for extra tracks that he completed.
Nice.
The 9 tracks that he delivered like a month before release mostly included apparently a lot of ambient music, which id thought, okay, we know Doom fans, that's not really what they want to hear on the soundtrack.
Right.
And so they asked him to remix. They asked him to remix, some of the heavier tracks, and Mick said he would work on it basically. And this is a lot of paraphrasing. This was if you go on the Doom subreddit, this is the biggest post in the last week and the last couple of months, other than Doom Eternal's release itself. And basically they said, okay, Mick is not going to do this for us. Let's ask our lead sound designer, which is Chad Mossholder. Let's ask him to do this. But the thing is, and the reason why all the ones that were mixed by him are like the mix is so bad, is because the original files with the full fidelity
were not available.
Yeah, do not exist at id. They are mix essentially.
They're at his house.
Yeah, they're at his house, basically. They did not have that audio. They had the snippets from the game, which are compressed and in tiny little pieces to be played and stitched together by the AI of the game as you play. And so that is what Chad had to work with. And like everyone, so many people, I think really what got id to comment is so many people have been dragging Chad through the mud about the mix of like the rest of the soundtrack. And they're like, okay, this has to fucking stop. People are like bullying our employee over this shit. And so and it seems like id is willing to work with Mick again because they love his music. It's just like some of the problems that come with the territory of like really talented artists are sometimes not so great at honoring contracts.
Right.
That is how
they run in their own time.
Yeah. That is, you can't rush art, I suppose.
Right. Or Mick.
Or you can't rush Mick. So I really hope everything works out between the two of them. How much of it really was Mick's fault, how much of it was Bethesda putting too much pressure on him, or id putting too much pressure on him. I hope whatever is going on, that they can work it out. They did say that for the story DLCs that are coming out, that Mick is not going to be working with them on those.
Okay.
While they figure out this row between them, or row. You would say row.
Yeah.
While they figure this out. I just really hope if they make another Doom game that they bring him back, because they said in that post, we know Mick's soundtrack is synonymous with these two games that we've put out. We know that they are inseparable, which is why it hurts to have this situation happen. So I hope they figure that out because, God, I love those soundtracks and I love the game.
Mm-hmm.
They work together perfectly.
I'm still stuck in the same place in 2016. I keep trying to play it. I do have the rocket launcher.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
So
and I keep killing myself with it because then I aim at the thing and then some goddamn thing she spawned jumps in front of me and I blow myself up.
Remember, you got to keep moving. Always moving. Always moving. You got to learn to strafe. You got to learn to strafe, my dude. Do you have any mods for the rocket launcher?
I don't think so. No.
See if you have any leftover weapon points. Oh, wait, no, you can't buy weapon points.
No,
you can't buy mods with weapon points. You have to find the little drones.
Yeah.
So
find the little drones or pull chips off of chests.
That's for your armor.
Oh, that is for your armor. Right. Right.
So, yeah, I guess my only recommendation is restart the game.
I guess.
And do more exploring.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it'll be easier to find stuff in the first few levels now that you turn the brightness up.
I think, well, I turned the brightness up and then I did restart the game.
Okay. Well,
yeah, so I think I'm just bad at the game. I think I'm just, and I've replayed this battle so many times.
Yeah.
I've actually gotten bored with it.
I guess.
Yeah.
Have you tried walking straight up to the summoner and just blasting it with a super shotgun?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's 2 summoners in this battle.
Just keep going.
Yeah, I guess.
You got any chainsaw fuel?
No.
I don't know what to tell you. Dude. You're just bad at video games.
I guess. I've been playing video games since decades before you was a twinkle in your daddy's knee.
In my what?
I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
God. I mean, I've been playing video games since I was like 6, and I'm still bad at the vast majority of them. So
Sure.
I should not be one to talk.
Yeah. Well, and you put in more time. I don't have the time to put in.
I don't really put that much time into like Doom Eternal has been the first game that I've played consistently. Like at least once or twice a week for like in the last couple of years. That's been one of because a lot of times what will happen is, oh, here's a new game and I'll play it, a couple hours every day until I finish it. And then, that'll take me a week and then I finish that. And then I don't play anything else until the next thing that grabs my attention comes up, which might be months later. Because there are games that I love that I'd love to replay. But then there's something in my brain that goes like, you should be doing other stuff. You've played this game before.
Right.
Even though I adore it and I'm sure I'm enjoying myself. There's something in the back of my brain going, quit doing this. Go do something different. Do something new. And I hate that.
Maybe pick up a book.
Yeah. Do something valuable with your time.
Yeah.
Finish Dune. So we should start talking about the reason we're here, the album.
Oh, we're going to get into some deep philosophy.
The reason we're here. These Modelo Especial beers that we have.
I thought we were going to go with when 2 people meet in a bar and then again in a Toyota Corolla later in the parking lot. They have a special kind of hug. And that's why you're here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that how you're going to describe that to Max?
What do you mean gonna?
No, we are here to talk about Departure.
We Lost the Sea.
Yeah, Departure Songs by We Lost the Sea, which I, for some reason, keep on thinking we've talked about before. We have not made it an episode before. We've definitely talked about this album
talked
before.
about it, yeah.
And
especially
we certainly
the themes of the songs.
Yeah, and we certainly talked about their new album. But here we can really kind of dig deep because this is what we're doing. So if you don't know what the story of We Lost the Sea is, they're an Australian post-rock / post-metal band. They were
mostly instrumental.
Yeah, mostly instrumental. They were founded in the late 2000s, 2008, something like that. And they, for the longest time, were more of a post-metal band along the lines of Neurosis, where they had, sort of, heavy guitars and sort of long, longer kind of drawn out songs, definitely in the post metal vein, whereas like this, this doesn't really fit as a different kind of metal song, but there's something about it that's metal. And they had a vocalist. His name was Chris Torpy. And he had been their vocalist from the time that they were founded until 2013, when he unfortunately committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And they took a bit of a break, of course, as one would expect, and then did
when your close friend dies.
Yep. And they did a benefit show, and then started working on this album called Departure Songs, which was sort of their tribute to him in a lot of ways. It is an album that describes many different people who all died as part of some noble but failed enterprise.
Right.
With one notable exception, although I think that's mostly due to a lack of knowledge about this. I'm actually not even sure if the report stating to the contrary had come out at that point, but we'll get to that because I kind of want to do a song by song, which we haven't done in forever.
Right. We need to do that.
Because the story is such an important part of this album, because this is really sort of an emotional experience.
Yeah, it's just purely emotional.
It's an extremely cathartic record.
Right. I tried to wash the dishes while listening to this, and I caught myself staring out the window.
Yeah.
I was, oh shit! Back to the dishes.
I'm working here. So the first song is called "A Gallant Gentleman." It sort of opens up as this kind of a fairly soft sort of song that slowly builds up
hugely,
and gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And it is about a man named Lawrence Oates, who was a member of the Robert Falcon Scott Antarctic expedition. It was a big expedition in 1912 that was, they started putting it together in 1910. And they were trying to be the first people to reach the South Pole.
Sure.
And they brought on, Lawrence Oates was brought on as a horse expert because around, like, in the coastal areas, they were going to use, ponies and horses to help haul some supplies. And Lawrence had been he was a veteran of the British military. One of his legs was an inch shorter because he got shot in the Boer War, I believe.
Wow.
He was a captain. And so he was an officer. He was 32 years old in 1912. And they departed, the coast of Antarctica, making their way to the South Pole. And they were racing against a team of people from Norway who include, I think his name was Roald Amundsen.
Amundsen, yeah.
Amundsen, who's, there's a famous sort of several books have been written about this race and the rivalry between the two.
Right.
They reached the South Pole to find out that Amundsen had gotten there about a month earlier.
Left a tent.
He left a tent and a note for them. And on their way back, things really took a turn for the worse. Supplies started running low. The weather was horrifying. The weather was incredibly bad. And Oates began to suffer a pretty awful frostbite on his feet that developed into gangrene. And he was having, he was really slowing everyone down. He was having a lot of trouble walking. And he asked them to leave him behind. And they said, nah, we're not going to leave you behind. Well, one night when they were hunkered down in their tent, I should really pull up his Wikipedia page because I would like to read this quote because it's a very famous quote, I believe. That's actually in a number of Discworld novels.
Discworld.
Yeah, good old Discworld.
Love Discworld.
I think Death actually says it a couple of times, which Discworld's depiction of Death is uniquely entertaining to me because like he starts out in the books as like a villain and then slowly becomes kind of this very comic character and actually the protagonist of a couple of books.
Like in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah. So let's see here. Lawrence Oates, his, Terra Nova expedition. And it's not exactly known whether he actually said this. This is according to Scott's diary.
Right.
But
secondhand.
Robert Falcon Scott ended up having a bit of a pendulous legacy, sort of swung back and forth between this guy's a hero and this guy's a moron. But for Oates anyway, apparently his last words as recorded in the diary were, I'm just going outside and maybe sometime. And he walked off into the snow and no one ever saw him again because he just didn't want to slow anybody down. And so he just got up and walked off and they never found his body. The other 3 members of the expedition that were in that tent died shortly thereafter, not on the same night, but a few days later, I believe. They and their bodies were found. The expedition was actually scientifically more significant than people often forgot about the important science aspect of it. Because the Norwegian expedition was basically just an exploration thing of we're going to be the first people to get there, which is maybe why they were more successful. The Terra Nova expedition came back to the UK with 2,100 different samples and 600 of the different biological samples they brought back were at the time unknown.
And they found them on the bodies, or they found them near or with the bodies?
No, I think it was stuff that different scientists had collected on their own in Antarctica as part of the expedition, but not part of the South Pole team, essentially.
Gotcha.
I think is how that works. I'm no expert on the Terra Nova expedition because it's
Terra Nova or New Terra.
Yes. or new. No, it's Illis.
Oh, Illis. Sorry. Yeah.
Little Expanse reference for everybody.
Sorry.
But so the song is basically just about his sacrifice. And Lawrence Oates has been commemorated by a number of different people, including certain military orders in South Africa, which is surprising considering that the Boer War is sort of what kicked off South Africa being an independent of the United Kingdom. But it's interesting that they respected him that way, as well as his unit in the UK, which I believe was a dragoon unit. So it's sort of mounted infantry, whereas instead of staying on the horses, they would ride to battle and then get off the horses. And that's what's the gallant gentleman part is, I think, what's on there. There was a painting that they commissioned, that unit commissioned of Oates, of him walking off into the snow. And I believe the title of the painting is A Most Gallant Gentleman. The second song is called Bogatiri, which is a reference to a Slavic folk myth about 3 knights. Essentially, they're sort of like knights errant. And a knight errant in European folklore is a knight that travels around the countryside doing good deeds and not asking for rewards and that sort of thing.
How can you afford to do that?
I mean, if you're a knight, you probably
have titles and lands,
you got cash and shit.
Yeah.
I think the idea of being a knight errant is that they didn't worry about how they could afford it.
Sure.
They didn't care. They would go around and do it because it was the right thing to do, essentially. And that is the Bogatiri is basically the Slavic ideal of that sort of folk myth, essentially. But it is about 3 men, Alexei Ananenko, Valery Bespalov, and Boris Baranov, who were 3 workers at the Chernobyl power plant.
Right, in the basement.
And 2 of them were engineers, and I believe Boris Baranov was a shift supervisor. And something like a week after the disaster, they got asked to head into the flooded basement of the power plant to open up 3 sluice gates because there was a massive buildup of water from the firefighting and water that was left over in their own fire suppression system. There was a massive buildup of water in the basements.
None of it was heavy, though.
Yeah, it wasn't heavy water. Right. I mean, it was radioactive because it was in Chernobyl. But the water was flooding the basements, and from the reactor floor, there was a substance called corium, which is essentially a lava-like substance that is made up of the graphite surrounding the fuel rods themselves. Basically, everything that was in the reactor that has melted has turned into this incredibly radioactive lava, and it was burning a hole through the concrete floor and threatening to go down into the basement and set off a gigantic steam explosion that would have been many orders of magnitude worse than the original explosion.
So they had to let this water out.
Yeah, they had to figure out how to let this water out, and there were a number of sluice gates that would drain the water out of the basement, but they were all closed. The basement was dark, and the water was thought to be quite deep in some places. And so they needed volunteers to head into the basement and open them up. And they thought they would probably die. If they finished it and got out, they would probably be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Conditions in the basement were actually a lot better than they had anticipated them to be. Water was, I think, like waist high at most.
Wow.
And the three of them managed to open all of the sluice gates and get out. And I believe they did spend some time in the hospital, but all three of them actually lived. And I think two of them, or all of them, I think, actually stayed working in the nuclear field up until... I think a couple of them have died from unrelated illnesses since then. One of them had a heart attack, I think. And as of like 2016, one of them was still working in the nuclear field.
Wow.
But
this came out in 2015, right?
Yeah. And that report, I think, came out like the report of like, hey, these guys are alive, I think came out in 2016. The popular story, which had been spread around by the media since 1986, was that these three men died and, it was this heroic sacrifice. They actually lived, which I think makes the story even better in a lot of ways. Knowing that no one died to do this amazing thing that probably saved most of Europe.
Sure.
I think that's much better that these three guys basically saved the continent and they lived.
Imagine them being in the bar later. Oh, you had a good golf game today. Oh, really? That's special.
That's special. Do you know how many lives I saved?
I went into fucking Chernobyl.
I went into the radioactive water wearing diving suit. We had only flashlights. I believe it was, at least in the Chernobyl TV show, they depict their flashlights going out, I think because the radiation was fucking with the electronics.
Sure.
They had backup squeeze powered lights, essentially, where it's a battery that you can charge by squeezing a handle, which is a thing that actually is I know about those because
I actually have one of those.
And they're all over the place in the Metro video games.
Really?
Artyom's flashlight has a squeeze handle charger.
I have one for camping.
Yeah, they're super neat.
They
and
are.
Apparently they brought those with and were able to turn their flashlights on. And that is an extremely tense scene in the Chernobyl TV show. But accurately, they also show that the three of them survived. But the album sort of goes on the idea that they died. And this is, I think, the first really heavy song on the album.
Right.
There's not many songs on the album. There's only five tracks.
Right.
But
one of them sort of sung in two parts, kind of.
Yeah. The latter half of this just starts pounding. And it just keeps like these guys know how to build.
Oh, man, do they know how to build.
Really know how to build.
I could listen to this over and over. This is one of those albums I could listen to over and over.
I have.
I know.
But yeah, like every song is just a master class in how to build tension, basically. And the opening half is this. I think the way they play the guitar sounds so distinctly Slavic to me. Just like the whatever chord it is they're using,
the note progression.
It sounds Slavic to me. Which I don't know if it's a stereotype I have in my brain about Slavic music or what. They should have had someone playing a balalaika on there. Have you ever listened to like balalaika music?
Oh, of course, it's great.
It's amazing. I love it's such a neat instrument. It's like depending upon how big it is. Some of them are
ridiculously huge.
Yeah, some of them are like ukulele sized. They have 3 strings. Two of them are the same size, just tuned differently. Or actually, no, I think 2 of them are usually tuned to the same note. I think it's a neat instrument. Yeah, there's something really uniquely Slavic about the way that Bogatiri opens, which I think, fittingly enough, for a song about Chernobyl. So the next song coming up is called "The Last Dive of David Shaw," and here is where they use some sound samples.
They did. Now, was this actual sound samples from what happened?
Yes,
from the video.
So the story of David Shaw. David Shaw was an Australian-born airline pilot who had been living in Hong Kong for a while. He was also an avid diver. He was an avid extreme diver. and had been doing it for a number of years. He preferred to use rebreathers instead of open circuit.
Or oak circuits.
Yeah, oak circuits.
Don't want to use those.
You don't want to use those underwater.
No.
But he preferred to use rebreathers instead of open circuit scuba equipment. So he wouldn't have to carry as many tanks with him.
He'd be lighter.
It was lighter, and you also don't have to spend as much time decompressing on your way up. And he was in 2004. He was diving in a spot in South Africa. There's a good friend of his named Don Shirley, who lived in South Africa and was part of the extreme diving community. And told him about this place called Bushman's Hole, which is this extremely deep sinkhole just in the middle of a field. On this game farm in South Africa. There's just like water? This. Yeah, it's like 900 feet deep.
Wow.
And it's just a cave, just a 900-foot cave that goes down. It's full of water, and it became a really popular spot for extreme divers. And while he was going down there he already set a record for the deepest anyone had ever dived using a rebreather. And while he was setting that record, Shirley. He saw, Shaw.
Shaw. Okay.
Shirley was with him that time. But while Shaw was down there, he saw a dead body at the bottom and immediately knew that this was the body of Dion Dreyer, who was a young South African man. He was 20 years old, who was also part of an extreme diving club, or not even an extreme diving club, but they had gone like 300 feet deep, him and his friends, and he was diving support. Something went terribly wrong, and he sunk to the bottom of the...
Dead.
Yeah, he's dead. They think it was probably carbon dioxide buildup. But something went terribly wrong, and he sunk to the bottom of Bushman's Hole, and everyone basically decided that they would have to leave him there, including his parents. But David Shaw found the body and came back up and decided, I'm going to get that body out of there for this kid's parents. And also it will be another record of the deepest
rebreather dive.
Yeah, not the deepest rebreather dive, the deepest body recovery.
Oh, really?
Essentially of a dead body. And so they put together this huge effort, this huge support effort involving police departments because there's dead body involved, as well as, extreme diving crews from all over the place that were handpicked by him and his friend Don Shirley to help them complete this. And there is video of this you can watch on YouTube of David Shaw descending into the depths, and you can watch over the course of about 12 minutes as everything goes wrong.
Really?
Essentially what happened was he was diving to the bottom of the hole, and the first thing that seems to have gone wrong is the body was floating free instead of being stuck in the silt like he thought it was going to be. And when things start going wrong on a deep dive like that, you stick to what the plan is. So the plan was put the body in a body bag, which is much harder when something is floating free underwater with neutral buoyancy, and you've got one hand on the bag and one hand on the body trying to put it in. To complicate this, at that depth, the mixture of gases that you are breathing in basically creates the effect of being drunk, to the degree of an article I read compared it to about 4 to 5 martinis on an empty stomach. Margaritas, I believe. Yeah. I think actually it was martinis. I misspoke earlier today when I was talking about this. But, like vodka, martinis on an empty stomach.
Were they shaken?
Yep, they were shaken.
Okay, not stirred.
But basically drunk, and it gets worse. It only gets worse and worse. The more you breathe, the harder you breathe, and the more you struggle.
And he's doing a lot of activity here.
Yes, and you can watch in the video as he starts to basically panic. And Don Shirley was the next person in the line up above him, and he can see, because the water's exceptionally clear, he can see Dave Shaw's light going nuts below him.
Right.
And he decides he's going to go down to try and rescue his friend. Well, on his way down there, his computer controller, which is what manages all of the mixtures of gases that you breathe in your rebreather breaks. And you can't do any sort of diving with a rebreather if your controller's broken, because managing the gases basically becomes your job now. And so he realizes he has to leave his friend down there. And the interesting thing about this is now there are 2 dead divers down at the bottom. Don Shirley has a hell of a time on his way back up. Helium bubble forms in his brain and causes an extreme fit of vertigo, and he almost like loses himself and falls down the hole and dies too.
Yeah, and all of his thoughts were really high pitched.
Yep, indeed. And like he had a hell of a time recovering from this, you know, with decompression therapy and basically recovering his balance. But a couple of days later, what was left of the dive team that was still hanging out, you know, cleaning things up and collecting gear from, you know, that had been left at the site. And I think there were still the police were still on hand assisting, like police divers were helping out. There's like this narrow chimney that leads into this very large, I think it's like 20 meters down. This chimney ends and opens into this very wide mouth chamber, kind of. That extends down to the bottom. While one of the guys was diving, recovering some of the gear and some of the gas tanks that they had stashed on the way down, he saw David and Dion's bodies had floated to the top.
Wow.
And so he died doing it, but he recovered that body. And it's this song, holy shit.
I know.
Opening with that sample, especially when you know what the story is, because it's actual audio from the video. And the most disturbing thing about the video is hearing David's breathing get harsher and harsher and harsher.
And knowing that it's going to lead to the death of this man.
Knowing that eventually the video is going to stop moving because he stopped moving. Adds like such a different level to it. But wow, this song, you can feel the panic escalating.
Right.
Like this is like like the waveform reads almost like a seismograph or like a heart rate monitor, just going up and up and up until it ends. And then the last like minute is just piano. It ends on like this peaceful note of like, oh shit, he's dead. And I was listening to it while I was reading an article about what happened. And
geez.
It was like, whoa, this was maybe more than I bargained for. But so that is that song right there. And that happened on January 8th, 2005 is when that event happened. Then we've got Challenger Part 1 and 2. And just from the name, you kind of know what this is about.
I don't understand. I have no idea.
So this is something that, of course, Chernobyl was a huge global event as well. But what were you doing? Do you remember what you were doing on January 28th, 1986?
I was in Glenburn, North Dakota. I was in Mrs. Heine's 6th grade class, and she left for a bit. And she came back into the room crying.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And she told us what happened. And then what they did was...
How old were you?
1986, I was 12.
Okay. I was going to say, because like the traumatic event for me of my childhood was 9/11, of course. But like I don't really remember.
But yeah, you were very small at the time.
I was 5.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember. I was in kindergarten. And I remember people being upset. I remember watching it on TV. But of course, I didn't have any real understanding of what was going on.
Now, what about Katrina? Did that affect you at all?
No, not really. No? I do remember being somewhat upset by the Columbia disaster.
Oh, sure.
Because like I was, like any nerdy little kid, I was obsessed with space and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I can't remember if that was before or after we had gone to Florida and I was at Kennedy Space Center. But that like I remember that. But like what was the atmosphere like that night after the disaster happened? It was like
in 86.
Yeah.
Oh, it was sad. It was very sad. Everybody was.
So, of course, we're talking about the Challenger disaster. The names of everyone that died. We have Francis R. Scobie, who's the commander, Michael J. Smith, the pilot, Ronald McNair, who's a mission specialist alongside mission specialists, Ellison Onizuka, I believe, Judith Resnick, Gregory Jarvis, who was a payload specialist, and of course Krista McAuliffe, who was payload specialist and also a teacher.
Yes,
who had won a contest to be the first teacher in space.
So, and that's what she was going to be.
And it was a cold morning, and one part,
an O-ring.
An O-ring on, I believe, the separator for the solid rocket booster.
Indeed.
Malfunctioned, and the whole thing exploded. And this one opens up again with a soundbite, but it's not a soundbite of anything to do. There are multiple soundbites in these last two tracks, but this one opens with a soundbite from William S. Burroughs, of all people.
Yeah.
Famous sort of beat author, beat
about
generation
dreams.
author, talking about the idea of dreams and the very hippie-ish idea of astral projecting yourself into space,
right,
as a way to travel across the galaxy.
But we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. The extremely ominous way to lead into this song. Mm-hmm. And there's just this very sort of lonesome, clean tone guitar that leads into this song, and things slowly, once again, start building up to complete disaster, I believe, at some point after what I always picture in my mind as the explosion, as the end of these pounding riffs that
I can still see it in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I've
seen it on
34 years and I can still see it in my head.
I've seen it on clips so many times. I've got it in my brain too, but like I picture the explosion, and in the aftermath of that, there is what I think is a theremin just going completely fucking nuts in the background. Someone is just spazzing out on a theremin. And I think there's a little bit of that theremin in the lead up as well. But it ends with audio from someone's home movie. They were there at Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, they were here, now they're gone. God,
that is and it's just a lady just reacting to this insane shit she just saw. The space shuttle just exploded midair, and it's like it almost sounds like she's on the phone with someone, but it's 1986, so I don't know.
She wasn't on the phone.
You can hear the thing that always comes to my mind is the incredible professionalism of the dispatcher over the air from
he was very calm.
Houston.
Yeah,
of just like, seems like we've had some sort of problem. We'll, bring you more information as it becomes available to us. It seems there was an explosion. We've lost contact with the vehicle. And it's like, holy shit. The just like iron will essentially of like that must be such an incredibly stressful job to be a dispatcher at NASA. Holy shit.
You know, it's funny. I understand that. I've noticed something about myself that if it's just a little kind of thing that went sort of haywire, I throw a goddamn hissy fit.
Yeah.
If it's the world has just exploded, I'm opening the microphone. Okay, here's what has happened.
It's all right.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
And I haven't had much cause to really experience that in my time as a broadcaster, but I feel a lessened version of that. I tend to, if I at the very least kind of know what I need to be saying, and it's not someone is burst in saying, get on the air and talk about this.
Yeah.
Like if I know what I need to be saying, it doesn't matter what it is. I can deliver it.
Right.
But then there are other like random little inconveniences that happen that freak me out.
There was a glitch in the song.
And I freak out, but like big shit like that. Yeah. Sometimes I kind of focus on it. So, but like, it's crazy that like professionalism, it's, I mean, and that's just NASA, and it's 86 at that point. So, there's probably a decent amount of first generation mission controllers still hanging out that went through like, oh, shit exploded. Yeah, that happens all the time. But so after things sort of, it perfectly fades into the last track on the album, which is Challenger Part 2,
right?
Also labeled as Swan Song. And oh my God, after an album that is just full of so much tragedy and so much death and so much tension,
right?
Everything just gets released in this. It is angelic almost because this builds up to, but into like this choir or this chorus, and it's not even really any human voices. It's keyboard, but it's like it's so light and so positive and so cathartic. And it ends with Reagan's address to the nation, or at least a chopped up version of it, which I think is probably the best thing Ronald Reagan ever did, at least as president.
Best speech he ever made.
Yeah, he's certainly his best speech, and maybe the best thing he did officially as president, because there's not a lot of other reasons for me to like him anyway. But my God, like it's such a obviously perfectly fitting way to end that song.
They broke the surly bonds of earth
to touch the face of God.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's that speech is so masterful. And of course, the guy was an actor. He knows how to deliver.
Indeed.
But
knew how to deliver.
Yeah, he knew how to deliver. But it is such a release, such an emotional release, and that I adore that song so much. And it the thing about his speech that I think is interesting too is because that January 28th, 1986 was supposed to be the State of the Union address. And if you listen to the full speech, that's what he opens with is, I was planning to, address all of you on the state of our union, but events have changed. And it was also there were a number of coincidences on that day. One of them, namely, being that was also the same day that was 390 years prior. Francis Drake had died.
Sure.
And read a quote about Francis Drake.
He lived on the water,
lived by the sea, died by the sea.
He was buried in it. Yeah. And there was some other coincidence that occurred on that day as well. But oh my God, this album to me is a piece of art that has to be consumed as a whole. I have trouble if I listen to anything by itself. It is Challenger. To me, Challenger 1 and 2 kind of have to be listened to together. But like 90% of the time I turn this album on, I have to listen to the whole thing. Sure. Which is an investment. That's not a small chunk of time. Right. But I got to do it. I can't not do it. And I think this was just such a incredibly beautiful way to say goodbye to a friend and a band member is writing an album like this. Departure songs.
Yeah. God. And I sort of made a joke about it or at the start of the episode. There's a band called Hammock, which is really less of a post-rock band and more of an ambient band. Right.
There's a lot of ambient components to this as well.
Yes, there is. But Hammock is all ambient all the time. And they have an album that is also called Departure Songs that came out in 2012. That is also very good. But this album, We Lost the Sea, I desperately want on vinyl, and it is sold out everywhere. Really? It's like $150 is like the cheapest you can find of it, at least new. But I desperately want this. I don't know. It's not really fair to ask if this slaps. I don't think that's really a fair question to ask.
Yeah, this doesn't. Yeah, it's not meant to slap. They didn't make it to slap.
This doesn't slap. This is like this punches you with sadness and despair and grief. This album is a critical darling. I didn't look up specific reviews for it, but this is a very, very well liked album by critics and fans. What is your favorite song on here?
I like The Last Dive. That's possibly my favorite song on there.
The Last Dive of David Shaw is really solid. I have to give it to Challenger as like a cohesive piece.
1 and 2. You're saying as a cohesive piece.
Yeah, especially I like the build up and the relief. I think is so beautiful.
And that in itself is like 40 some minutes.
It's not that long. It's like 25 minutes. That's like 25 minutes right there. But yeah, there's some long songs on this here album.
Right.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of what medal you give.
I give it a gold.
Yeah, this is a gold.
Mm-hmm.
This is a gold. Like the foil on our Modelos. A gold.
A gold.
So next week, what are we planning on?
I thought we'd take I had some ideas about something a little less emotionally heavy.
Okay.
But something I feel weird that you probably have never listened to.
Okay.
And that is the album The New Order
by
Testament.
All right, hell yeah. We're gonna stay on Steve DiGiorgio territory.
Yeah, he
wasn't on that album.
He wasn't on that album.
Okay, no. But I mean, it's still in the he was there at some point.
Yeah, he's there now. Technically, I mean, he's not there now because he has fucking coronavirus.
Yeah, I don't know if he still has it. He had it.
Well, he had it.
He might have recovered at this point.
Sure.
But all right, cool. Yeah, we'll listen to some Testament next week. One of the several bands that people say should be either in the Big Four or part of a Big Five.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. I think the week after, we're going to listen to a little doom metal band that I've gotten
Which is
into.
why I picked Testament. I was going to pick something else a little more doomy next week. I'm like, no, we can't.
No, it's not what you're thinking of.
Oh, it's not.
We're not going to listen to Bell Witch. I'm going to leave that.
No, I know.
Oh, we're going to listen to a little band I've gotten into called Chemist.
Chemist, right.
Which the best, most succinct quote I have about Chemist is Chemist fucks. It is.
These guys fuck.
They kick so much ass, and I'm excited to talk about them in a couple of weeks. So that's what we got to do. I'm going to chug some of this Modelo because I just filled up this beer.
Okay, good. Because we can't really. Oh, chug. All right.
We didn't do the thing where we talk about where you can listen to. We're on Libsyn. I thought we were done.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've been talking for this is a long episode.
Very long episode.
So we're running incredibly long.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for listening to this episode. You can find us on Libsyn. You can find us on iTunes and on the mobile versions of those two sites. Whatever you got, you'll figure it out. You're an adult. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter.
Yeah.
We post links to new episodes there when they come out. Mm-hmm. So thank you all very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.